Hello and welcome to On Fire here on Daily Mirror Online. I'm Iswaran Ratnam. Our guest today is parliamentarian and former Minister of Sports, Harin Fernando. Mr. Fernando, welcome to the program.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you.
So, Mr. Fernando, these days, now more than ever, I guess, the need for a strong opposition is what's being discussed. Here, with the rift that emerged in the UNP and then the split eventually, the SJB going separately, there is this feeling that we don't have a strong opposition. Is there an opportunity, in your opinion, where these opposition parties, be it the SJB and the UNP and others as well, would actually work together in Parliament as opposed to having different voices?
Well, I believe that as an opposition, it's not about the numbers. It's about the impact that you make. And I think SJB, with a very young team, with only 53 members, and on SJB alone, it's less than 43, have done remarkably well to highlight many differences or many malpractices of the government. Together with three members of JVP. So I think even TNA, we have seen some young, dynamic TNA leaders like Shanik, who has actually done very well. So I'm actually thinking it's not just the numbers of opposition members, but it should be a broader alliance. When you're fighting more issues of the country, which is for the people.
But not numbers. I mean, is your voice really heard in Parliament?
Well, see, one can ignore it.
Yeah.
But the people are hearing it, and that's what you see online, and that's what you see on comments. That's what you see, the uprising of the people, whether it's the unions.
But on comments on social media, we see a lot of people criticizing, your party leader.
Well, the thing is this: if you analyze social media today, there are lots of trolls and bots that has been operated. So there are manipulated. There are different arms. There are different companies being established to make comments. But the beauty of social media is that so you need to identify which is fake, which is not, which is genuine, which is authentic. So that's something that where people engages properly and understand. So I think that the social media concept has to be accepted. Well, I think Mr. Sirisena, the former president, got it all wrong. When he got all negative comments, he panicked, right? We see Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the president, is panicking right now with all these comments. But it is not. If you really actually work with the online comments, because it's a very small number, but they're influencers, if you really look at it. But there are fake influencers as well as genuine influencers. So we need to figure that out. I think that is the most key and the crucial and critical point is actually letting them comment and letting them engage. So the problem, as I said, we have almost 50 million odd voters, but we do have only 7 million active people on the Facebook and on social media platforms. So therefore, it's not the exact number, but they can actually influence. So if I was in government, if I was in the government, I would actually take it positively. I would not really try to stop them, but try and make sure that they see the positivity, because that's the way of survival. That didn't happen at the Yapal government. He blocked the Facebook. I was the minister there. I could not do anything with the TRC. He was with the president at that point. And same thing is happening today.
Did you try to do something there?
Well, I did, and I'm telling you, the content readers for Facebook have been put there because of us. At that my time, we got the Facebook down. We have 2 people representing. We have fact checker, factor sender. Those are all established after our request, and we got more than 60 people to be recruited who are working in Singapore, India, Ireland, all these countries. So
we'll go to that. I was asking, is like when Maithripala Sirisena as president was interfering, in certain matters and trying to block social media.
Well, unfortunately, I'll give a very direct answer. He is not savvy with technology. He does not understand how this works. So it's very difficult to make somebody like that understand. RW understood it very well, but they had a massive difference between themselves. I think which was the downfall of the government.
So as a former member of the UNP, do you regret, the idea of bringing in Maithripala Sirisena as a common candidate?
I honestly don't regret as such, because I think there are a few things that we have got it right. See, Maithripala Sirisena understood the political system very well, because he had come from the ranks right down, right below. He knew what a AGA division was. He knew what a Grama Seva division was. He knew what the whole system, the hierarchy, and how it flows down. I see a complete difference with Gotabaya Rajapaksa, because he does not understand the political system and how it works. So therefore, there's a big difference. But unfortunate factors, Sirisena would have had ideas of contesting again, but he promised himself as a one-time president. UMP was pushing him down there and throwing him against the wall and saying, okay, stay there. So a lot of uncomfortable incidents happened. But what we have achieved in that short time, I'm very glad, I'm very happy, because Yahapalana had all the independent commissions. Nobody could have... See, delays were there. People were dilly-dallying with the two governments being involved. But we had a golden opportunity, but unfortunately it was lost because of individual expectations and so on.
But then early on, when the government came to office, when the Yahapalana government came to office, also you all made lots of promises with Lasanta's murder investigation, with Tajuddin's murder investigation. What happened there?
Again, I would say there were young people who was involved in changing the government. People like Sujay Singh, Ajit P. Pereira, Harsha D. Silva, Ran Vikramadha, myself. There were loads of people who had the credibility. When the government came in and the votes were counted in and the older lot got through, they were given the post and were taken into cabinet. Same thing happened with Gotabaya Rajapaksa's regime as well. People had a lot of expectations, system change, talked about artificial intelligences, they talked about robotics, etc. But that cannot be implemented. Don't ever forget the fact that the government is run not by politicians. There's lots of a civil servant community or the administrative community which won't be changed. We as politicians, we have a 5-year term. If you don't work properly, we go home. But the system doesn't change. And Gotabaya Rajapaksa couldn't also change the system. That's where he's also faulting, and people are faulting him for. So we need to be very mindful. Sri Lanka needs a huge, complete revamp of politics if you want to see future. And I would say Sri Lanka my suggestion to Sri Lanka would be all parties, the cream and the best, have to leave their personal agendas aside. All of the top parties have to come together and have a common goal for 10 years. That would be the only way we can, because see, when we were in government, all that the opposition did was got hold of few media and was criticizing. What do we do now? We do the same thing. And those are facts that you can actually criticize also. But as a country, we don't go further. We won't have future. We don't have promise. So I think Sri Lanka needs a 10-year proper plan, no politics. How are we going to switch this? And then we can decide on which party to contest, what politics we want to do. I think that is something even the religious leaders, rather than supporting different individuals, and they are spiritual leaders, give us the spiritual guidance instead of getting involved in politics and party politics. So I think that's the only way forward for Sri Lanka, if I'm made to be honest.
So do you see that change happening through the SJB leadership as well?
Well, one positive about Sajith Premadasa is he listens. He's a bit young. I say he's young comparatively in politics. He's in his early 50s. I am telling Daily Mirror Online today, I will give you an affidavit. I would not want to be in politics if I live more than beyond 65. Because if a government servant cannot be fit enough to work, how can a politician work? Because he gives them he actually makes a call on behalf of the country. I mean, even a minister as a spokesman, if you're about 70 years, your energy is quite low comparatively to a guy who's about 45, less than 60. You need your rest more. I mean, no offense to any senior politicians, but how do we get the younger generation involved? How do you get a non-political family background guy to come into politics? How do we open that system up? How do we get a free educated person into the mainstream politics? You have to be damn lucky to actually get there, unless if you're related to a family or you have just blinded your ideologies and support a party. So these are things that I think even I would love to see Namal and them being young members actually to start this, initiate this. That would be the best concept. If he wants to have a plan for the future politics or future presidency, change, get out of the system, come out, just give off your rights, give off your securities or whatever. We all be commoners, and let's get. I don't believe myself to be an honorable, but that we are not doing an honorary service. We should not be sirs. We are government servants, actually. We have to be there for the people. So that whole mindset has to change if we are to look further. So that is something that has got into me since of late, and I think I would like to see that being pushed. And as you asked, Sajith Premadasa, well, we will push him to be there. If he doesn't want to be there, then we'll have to think the alternatives of how we're going to do it. But Sajid is very receptive. I mean, he engages with us very well, and whatever we say, he understands. He's quite a bit of a young generation guy, so it's easy to communicate with that kind of leaders.
I mean, let's talk about you, Harin Fernando, as an individual.
Very controversial.
I was going to say that you are a very controversial personality, outspoken in Parliament.
Yeah.
But some also, see that differently. Your personality is seen as being maybe thuggish, maybe unwarranted in Parliament.
As well.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, how do you see that?
Well, none of my parents ever knew that I would be able to even speak one word in a public forum. So sometimes the opportunities are given in a different way. The blessing comes to you in a different way. And I don't know how I ended up there. And even my school teacher, I went to St. Joseph's College. When I go for a function in school, I still shake. My knees shake because I was a notorious kid. But being outspoken isn't wrong. And I think that's the confidence I want to give any young person, to speak your mind out and back it with facts and not just criticize. So whatever I have done in Parliament, I had the fact. I told the fact. And I gave the alternate also. So I don't think it was just a mere mudslinging. I don't think that. I said what is the reason why I said it and what has happened. So I'm quite confident and I'm quite happy, and I would like to see if I am in a place, somebody criticizing me with facts so that I can change and not really tell him that I have two characters and I'll take you out.
So you've been engaging a certain individual who you call a man with skirts, or wearing a skirt, especially on this whole drug issue. And you went and took a urine test as well. I mean, what was the result of that test?
So I put it on Facebook, as I did everything live, and I did a video. The whole reason I tell everybody, don't do it. Don't try to prove yourself to somebody that's not worth. I didn't do it to that person because I don't even want to think that he exists in my life or he's around. I don't want to respond to him. But
you did that because of what he said?
No, it is because of the national media, the main two channels, under parliamentary privileges. They didn't want to fight me with facts. They brought in allegations. And I had a big following as well. And I have a very big younger generation following me. And especially my kids, those are my biggest followers. And I didn't want them to feel bad when they go to school because the national media carried me as a ruggedy. So I want to correct that path. Otherwise, I wouldn't have ever done it. And that person is non-existent to me. And he doesn't bother me at all. So I mean, sometimes you need to engage in different forums. So what I say sometimes, a man with a skirt, people would identify who that is, but I would never mention his name because he doesn't make an impact in my life. So even though he actually always accused me, I never go personal. And the teachings that I have got is, if somebody is doing something that you don't like, you don't do it back to the other person. So I believe in that very strongly. And I could have easily named few people in Parliament and make it a mockery and say, okay, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? I didn't do that. I did myself, cleared it out, and I said nobody has to prove to anyone, but I did because my daughter was doing O-levels in March, and I just wanted her mind to be clear that, they never asked, but then I thought I felt a bit bad, I have been a bit of a notorious father as well, so I thought, okay, you know what, it's better for me to just find myself again. So, and when I know that I haven't done anything, I thought it's best to prove, and just want to shut it up because I want to keep my focus on politics and exposing the government with all their wrongdoings.
And let's shift a bit to sports. You were former sports minister, and the state of Sri Lanka cricket is being discussed a lot these days, and it was still an issue even back then. And I know you had made some attempts to rectify certain matters. You approached the former cricketers as well. Do you think that this can be addressed very soon?
Yeah, at the outset, I would say cricket is not the only sport, but lots of people are interested in cricket, and that's a very highly commercialized sport. So everybody has interests, hidden agendas. But I'm very glad within 8 months we were able to deliver something which is law, which is where people who are into gaming cannot be holding posts because as you know, cricket administration is a complete mess. And there's more than 150 odd votes where they can buy it, and we don't need that much of clubs. And to be voting, at least in Australia, is only 8 votes. In England, I think it's about 12. So so what I really think is Sri Lanka cricket has talent, absolute amount of. But just imagine to be selected for the first 20 or the 25 pool or the squad, at least about 300 cricketers has to be playing domestic cricket. And we need to look after all the 300 players if you are to find the cream of the 25. So we don't have, and most of the cricketers who cannot make it to the national side, they migrate to Australia or England, or they migrate between the two countries in the 6 months and they make money because we are not paid them well. And the cricket board gets the same amount of funds. The government of Sri Lanka does not spend a cent on Sri Lanka cricket. It is completely on ICC. So ICC gives the same grant to all the nations, and they all manage it within those lines. And it's a marketing concept again. So how you market, how you brand Sri Lanka cricket, just like the All Blacks being a brand, even countries who are not playing rugby like India or Pakistan knows All Blacks. So it's about the branding. So I think we've got it wrong. See, Namal has the best opportunity. He cannot ever take an excuse because his father is a prime minister, his uncle is a president, his other uncle is the most controlling person in the government. So therefore, I mean, development and changes, it's very easy for him to make. When we were in government, we were a coalition. It was so difficult sometimes, but we were able to push within those issues and make the path clear. I would always suggest, even anybody these days, the country is closed or the airports are closed. Always you could have seen how many ministers would be flying abroad. My term, I wouldn't have, after my 4.5 years, every trip that I went on my hand. So these are things that never came out. And they can find those details. There's rights to information they can write. Maximum I would have gone about 2 trips from the government because those were insisted to go through the government. But everything else, wherever I went for a cricket match, even the World Cup, I went on my own, even the hotel. So what I was able to do at that point was unite the team. Sri Lanka cricket is very divided. Administration is divided as well as the players are divided. So you need to get that right. I remember asking 4 of the players who I wanted to have a conversation, who were having risks, and it was all wives getting involved in cricket and with these tours, etc. And I asked them, can you remember the first day you came for practices and how did you come to Sri Lanka cricket practice? I said, how did you drive in here now today? And I just opened the window at the sports museum and she just showed me the cars. So these are things where sometimes these boys need a reality check. And I don't blame them. See, they are in the limelight, the spotlight. So lots of things can go different. So those kind of changes have to be done by the administration. That's why we can't go and play cricket. And I think Namal should also take that same approach. And I'm sure he might be trying to do it. But you can't have favoritism for political powers. I know for a fact there are a few guys on the national team who was even given their residences or the things for their political office. So obviously I have never said these things out or the names of the people because that would harm their playing and the characters. But I think I had a nephew who actually was knocking on the door of Sri Lanka cricket, and I still remember they thrashed me saying that this boy is in the team because of me. And absolutely not. The cricket administration will know. And even with Jaram Jayaratne, who is Namal's relative through his brother's wife or the father-in-law of Rohit Rajapaksa, I honestly said he's a decent gentleman. You know, I knew him through his works, and I asked the boys, who is the most comfortable person for you all to work with? And they said his name. So I am not going to harass him just because on my time that he was Rohit Rajapaksa's father-in-law. That didn't matter to me. And I even to date say that he was one of the people who was very senior, very cricketer himself. Decent guy. He didn't even ever come across to me as Rohit's father-in-law even back then. And it didn't matter to me. That was not, I mean, that has to change. The way you actually decide has to change. Otherwise, it's going to be the greatest downfall. And I feel Sri Lanka cricket has enough talent, but it's just managing the talent, and it's unfortunate. These boys, I mean, you know, it's Instagram, it's Facebook. You have so many people liking you. You have so many people approaching you. We need to guide them. See, Australia cricket does it very well. In South Africa, they do it very well. In Sri Lanka, we have left them off, and we let them get into all kind of controversies. So I think the management is what we need to really necessarily do in all sports, I would say.
I know, as I said earlier, I think you approached Mahela and Sangakkara and tried to get them involved.
I've been trying to avoid this conversation for a longest time.
So let's get into the conversation because they seem to be supporting Namal now. Why didn't they support you?
I'm perplexed, to be honest. I asked them. I was very genuine at that point. I met them at my own residence. I met them in my own house. They didn't want to get involved in anything on Sri Lanka cricket at that point. Maybe probably they knew that our government was not very solid at that point and didn't want controversy.
Or did they think that you couldn't deliver? They feel now
Well,
can.
they asked me that too. They asked me how, because they have worked with so many ministers, have actually approached them and asked them so many questions. They said, you know what, we don't have faith in the system. We need to change. But I was the only one who was able to get Tilang Sundipali out of the whole equation at that point. But then when they backed out and they said their commitments are too far, I let them be, and I'm okay. But I only want, I mean, those are players on my era. I mean, I left school in that same era, and I really admire those two characters, and I only hope they don't become political, and they will try to do and deliver the best for the sport. Don't forget, few months before they were accused of selling a match by one of the current ministers in government. For one of the World Cup finals. Yeah. So I'm definitely know that they had nothing to do with it, and they were very pure players who had brought Sri Lanka so much of pride, and Sri Lanka cricket revolves around those two names. So, but I hope both of them can guide Nama, give him the best advice. I mean, if they fail there as well, we have no hope. Actually, those are the only two people who did not get into sports. Every other cricketer, Arjun Rantunga, Aravind, Sanat Jasra, all have been part of the administration. Now these two also are in the part of the administration, so they need to deliver. So I mean, as much as they didn't help me, I'm happy for Sri Lanka cricket for them helping, and I only hope they do it out of passion and not because of pressure. And I do believe Namal would get the best out of them. So hopefully we will be able to see it in the next World Cup.
Are you interested in working with Namal if that
we speak quite often, to be honest. To be honest, on sports matters, he and I WhatsApp all the time, and I always wish him well with sports stuff, and even politically. I mean, we have the same mindsets. I think, at least as a youth. I'm not youth anymore because I just turned 40, and Namal maybe in his early 30s or mid 30s. So, but I think our line of thinking are pretty much the same. We have different political agendas or political lines because they are more center. They're supposed to be more center left or left. We are more center right or supposed to be right. I don't know. So, all the parties have lost the focus of what they stand for. And I believe this is an ideal opportunity where all the parties could get together, as I said before, and have a common agenda for 10 years, get the country back on track. Don't have elections, don't spend so much money on elections, put it on to development, get the education of the country also to be proper free. Because
this is your opinion, this is not the party's opinion.
Well, I don't think, but I think way forward would be that. I mean, we have a golden opportunity, but what will happen again, Ishwan, is, let's say SJB come into power. Again, there'll be a massive attack by the media, vested interests, who they have invested, money they've been dumped. A country would not go further. So this is something that I've been thinking. Well, I am going to fight for SJB because I believe our new lot is clean. We don't have the baggage that UNP had. This is one of the reasons we stepped out and we didn't want to engage with the lot that was corrupt, as they say. I'm sure there are a few corrupt guys.
When in opposition, you're clean. When you come to power, don't these politicians
so what I'm saying is, even we were in power up till 2019, right? And this lot has a minimum amount of accusations, right? Only one or two people will have accusations, which was not proven. But basically, generally, the main thing was the central bank issue. Then the Easter bombing was something that was dragged and put on us, right? So other than that, there was no much issues that actually really happened. And whoever was a part of it, we left it at UMP and came, except for Ruan. I'm not saying because of Dueli Mirror. I know he's a very close friend of and dear friend of mine. And
so you mentioned Ruan. I mean, are you looking at the opportunity of maybe trying to? I see reports of even Ruan Wijewardene also like reaching out to the SJB.
No, actually, more than reaching out, it's a building a common consensus, like, between of how to fight the government. Let's decide of how we are going to contest later on, whether we are going to come as a coalition or whether we are going to go on our separate parties or on one common symbol. But right now, what we need to do is UNP needs to also engage. SJB is the one who has a voice, at least in parliament. That matters a lot. and even Mr. Karu Jayasuri, if he wants his Sadharana Civil Samaj or some movement, we need to get all of them on one platform, because we're fighting a regime that would be very difficult, because they have deep-rooted these things. So it's a bit of a worry, because when you look at the media, it's one-sided, right? So if we have to fight against their corruption, their malpractices, we need to come into a common platform, leaving our political differences aside. So I think Ruan has an ideal opportunity, because he's young. He have worked with us. We have been together as a team. So to be honest, I'm saying this is the first time in media. I met Ranil Wickremesinghe as well. I told my leader, Sajid Premadasa, I'm going to meet him, because he also wanted to have a chat and to see how we can merge further. So I think Ranjit Madhubala, General Secretary, has opened up a conversation. Ranil Wickremesinghe also wanted us to have a conversation with Ruan and see how we can work this around. So I think, we were UMPers, and I think I'm still a UMper, but we had the differences, and we wanted to stand our ground on one point. And Samagi Jana Balavegi is a balavegi, it's a movement, it's more than a party. So it's a party as well, but it's more than a party. Anybody can join. Samagi is, what do you call Samagi?
Unity.
Is unity. And Samagi Jana Balavegi is people's, unity people's movement. So we have the unity, we want everybody to unite and get all the people involved. And it has to be a movement. So it doesn't have to be a party, anybody can join it. And I think to fight the common enemy, we need to unite as one. So that's what we're trying to do, actually.
Right, Mr. Fernando, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for joining us on this program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thanks.